everyone, welcome back to the I Should Totally Be Dead Right Now podcast, where we tell true stories of survivors of true crime, natural disasters, and everything else in between. How's it going, Michelle?
Good. I have been enjoying these classic daiquiris.
Yes.
A lot.
They're non-frozen, right?
Yeah, they're not like the word up frozen concoction that you normally get. These are, well, as I have found out, anytime you go with a classic drink, they're all liquor and then something else.
Right.
And so this is no exception. So it's, oh my God. Oh, girl. Sorry already. So it is lime, simple syrup, and rum. And that is all that goes into it. And it's about 1 part lime juice, 1 part simple syrup to 2 parts of rum.
They're very refreshing.
They are very refreshing. This is like perfect summer afternoon drinking. Like,
absolutely. It's a beautiful day today, so...
The sunshine is out. Oh, it's lovely.
It is lovely.
We're drinking these amazing daiquiris. It's morning still, but for you guys, this is what we do.
We make the sacrifice.
That's exactly right. We're not drinking Bloody Marys this morning.
From the Bloody Marys to this, we needed a little bit of sweetness, I think.
We needed a little something to wash the taste of that crinkle cut fries.
Yeah. Terrible. Terrible. Ugh.
How are you doing, Caitlin? I feel like I never actually asked.
It's really nice of you.
I know. I think this is the first time I've ever asked how you're doing.
90-some episodes
I
in.
know. What a bee.
No, I'm doing well. Everything is really good. As you know, I texted you, but I went to Vegas with Nick, and I had to go to the hospital because I had a kidney stone. So it was not the greatest, but
all of our winnings went toward that emergency room bill.
I did so well gambling, but yeah, all of that went to the hospital bills to be treated. I think it was a give and take type thing. The universe, like, good job gambling, and they're like, you gambled, go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So,
pay all your winnings.
Exactly, and it was exactly all my winnings, which was so weird. So, how are you doing, Michelle?
I'm not gonna answer that. Nah. I felt like I had to ask. It just occurred to me that I never do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
My stone cold bee. You
Whatever.
know what I'm saying?
I don't think I've asked you. Oh, wait.
You always ask me.
That's true in the very
You've
beginning.
asked me 3 times now.
Oh,
just kidding. All right, we better jump in quick before we get any. Oh, nice. Take a hearty swig before we head off.
That's right. Michelle.
Oh.
I know you're not really on social media.
That's true. That's true.
But have you heard of viral challenges?
Yes, I want to kill myself. I'm not eating a goddamn Tide Pod, or am I having an ice bucket on me?
Okay,
I'll tell you that right now. Have I done any of them? No.
Which is probably good. I did do the ice bucket challenge, actually.
Which I think a lot of people, I mean, that was
for
like
charity.
A big one. Yeah, but was it for charity? Like, did money actually go to charity in that case? I'm sure some people did. Maybe. I shouldn't say that. I apologize. Continue.
So, I actually have several short stories of different viral challenges that went not the greatest.
Do you know my very favorite one?
What?
Actually, I don't even know if it's a challenge or not. Of when people have to like put an entire teaspoon of cinnamon in their mouth, and then it's like this giant puff.
That's very dangerous, though.
It is super dangerous, and then they're inhaling cinnamon.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna name the challenges. I want you to guess what they are.
This is the best day ever. Okay.
Okay. No, it's sad.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
So,
I'm serious now.
The first story is about Skylar Fish. He is 14 years old, and this is January 16th, 2016.
Okay.
It's my sister's birthday, actually.
Oh.
I know.
I did not know that.
So, Skylar participated in the duct tape challenge. What do you think that is?
Is it maybe sticking duct tape on some part of your body, like your arm, and then ripping it off and see if like hair comes off or something along those lines?
Kind of.
You're like, no, not at all.
This was a trend on YouTube where people duct tape people to poles or just around their whole body, and the person
should have guessed that.
And they had to break free. So Skylar actually has done this challenge before, so they were going to do it again.
Oh, so it was like no big deal.
So Skylar and his friends decided to do it, and Skylar was the one that's going to be duct taped.
Okay.
So they taped him up, just him standing, so he was covered in duct tape, and then he started to try to break free. But that's when Skylar lost his footing and fell, and since he's duct taped, he couldn't catch himself. But what he ended up falling into was the corner of a window frame, which crushed his left eye socket and cheek.
Oh, that's like the worst news. I thought you were going to say his foot.
No. Then he fell back and smashed his head onto the concrete.
Oh my gosh.
This caused him to have a brain aneurysm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can we back up a little bit?
Yeah.
So I was imagining him tied up to a pole, but clearly he's not.
No,
he's
this is just to
duct
himself.
taped around like mummy style on himself.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
mm-hmm.
And then so he's struggling to break free, and then he sort of stumbles and falls. His arms are obviously duct taped together.
Exactly.
He can't break his fall. He hits his face.
Yep.
And then hits his head later. Yep. Oh my god, what a nightmare. Okay.
Right. So his friends called 911 and they rushed him to the hospital, and then his friends ran to his mom's house and told him what happened. So he's already on to the hospital, and his mom just finds this out.
That would be like so scary.
Right? So he received 48 stitches, and then he lost vision in his left eye.
Oh my gosh.
He states, "I'm just actually really lucky to be alive. When I think about it, I become sad and then really happy because I survived it. I almost died." Skylar and his mother wants to warn other kids about these challenges because they could be...
They're dangerous as hell.
Well, they can have deadly consequences.
Yes, they can have deadly consequences.
It sounds innocent, like duct tape yourself and try to break free, but, you know.
No. I remember one time when I was working at the warehouse, and we used to have these book carts that were sort of V carts. I'm sure you remember, Caitlin, very well what these carts are like. And they would hold a stack of like 50 books really well. Mm-hmm. And so I had a whole crew of teenagers one summer, and one of them decided, well, it was a whole group of friends that decided to shrink wrap one of the kids to one of these frickin' carts.
Oh,
Thank you.
gosh.
I know words. And so they're zooming all over with him completely packed in this shrink wrap, like from pretty much his neck all the way down to his feet, and completely like on this cart. And I was like, what the hell? So I catch them doing this. They're like off in the stacks or whatever. And I was like, get him out of there.
Yeah.
And then trying to get him out, one of them slices open his palm. And so it ended up being this huge like workman comp thing that it was like, you are just being stupid and annoying, and now
here we go.
Now we have a real injury on our hands. Yeah, he sliced his palm with a box cutter like hard. It was
gosh.
I think he ended up with stitches.
Ugh.
So I was so frustrated. I was like, I'm never hiring teenagers again. That ended up not being the case, but at the time I was adamant.
Well, luckily he survived and he learned a lesson.
That's good.
And I just feel so bad. But the next one is about Rebecca.
All right.
She is 14 years old, and it's 2020 on Memorial Day. And she sees this on TikTok, and it's called the Benadryl Challenge.
Oh, no.
What do you think that is?
Do you just, like, take as many Benadryls as you can and try to stay awake, or?
That's a good guess. Yes, I mean, so this trend is if you take a dozen or more of
Oh, my God. I cannot even.
If you take a dozen or more of the Benadryl pills, they say that you will get high and hallucinate.
Probably.
Like an overdose.
Be good for you.
So Rebecca wanted to try it and took 14 pills in the middle of the night.
Like, isn't that like suicide? I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
Well, it's on it's a challenge.
Oh, that should not be a challenge.
Right?
That should not be a challenge.
So Rebecca took it, and after a while she went into her older sister's room, waking her up. Her sister freaks out because Rebecca is totally out of it, and she has fractured sentences and saying she's having hallucinations. So
she's effed up. The challenge won, or whatever.
Exactly. But she was terrified, like, I'm sure, feeling that way. Ugh.
Well, and you've got to be feeling super sluggish and weird because, I mean, they use Benadryl in hospitals as a sleep aid.
No, exactly.
I mean, it's
when I have really bad allergies and I can't sleep, I will take a Benadryl. Just one will knock me out. Yeah. So her sister actually calls her grandma to maybe try to avoid getting in trouble with the parents.
delightful.
I know, right?
Oh, that's
I've done
sister.
that.
I was gonna say that sounds like something my sister would do, or your sister.
Yeah. But so her grandmother actually calls Rebecca's mom Katie and tells her she needs to wake up and go see her daughter.
Oh,
so
there's something not good happening down the hall.
Katie checks Rebecca, and her resting heart rate is 199 beats per hour. Like, her heart is racing.
Yeah.
She rushes her to the hospital, and they actually transported her to the Cook Children's Hospital. Doctors perform an EKG, and they didn't like the results, so they kept her overnight
just to keep an eye out
to
on
be
her.
observed.
Make sure her heart doesn't explode out of her chest.
Pretty much, yes. So Rebecca's heart rate actually went back to normal, and she was able to go home the next day.
I'm surprised.
I know, right? She was lucky because too much diphenhydramine.
Diphenhydrolamine.
Okay.
Diphenhydral.
Sorry, guys. But too much of Benadryl can cause high heart rate.
Is this like the active ingredient in Benadryl?
Yeah, pretty much. Hallucinations, seizures, even cause catheter to drain the urine of the bladder due to not being able to urinate, and also death, and also trigger arrhythmias.
Ugh. It's like when your heart starts, I think, you know, when like your heart's just going, and then all of a sudden it'll start racing. That is an arrhythmia.
Oh, I see.
That is my understanding,
yeah.
Anyway, and then it'll kind of, usually it only lasts like for a few seconds for most people, but some people it can be quite a problem where they just are constantly having this racing heart. My understanding is, though, that if you bear down like you have to poop, sorry about this, that it'll stop the arrhythmia. It'll sort of like, I don't know, it like triggers your heart to go back to normal somehow.
When you have to poop?
When you bear down like you're pooping. So
interesting.
Anyway.
That's
I've not had this. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. So the crazy thing is that Rebecca was 1 out of 3 teens that went to Cook's Children's Hospital for this trend, for this challenge.
So they probably saw her and they're like, "Oh my God, more Benadryl, bring her in."
Yeah, probably.
Oh my God. That is so dangerous.
I know.
Like, I would never even take like 14 Advil, let alone 14 of anything else. Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh.
Well, the thing is, I think, like with these trends, people see other people doing it and they're fine. So it's like I will be fine
safe.
too.
No.
Yeah. It's.
Oh my gosh. And did they even do it? I mean, like, and are they fine? And, you know.
That's a dangerous thing. Like, why people would put that on the internet?
Yeah, they're probably having seizures off camera.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, sorry.
Katie states, which is her mom, as a parent, you worry about drugs and you know the signs for drug use. I never thought about having to lock up my allergy medicine. I just want other parents to know about this because it's dangerous and I had no idea. And I'm angry these people are essentially prescribing medication without a medical degree and our kids are trusting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trusting what they see online, which is very dangerous because a lot of shit online is not true.
Yeah, not true and not safe.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, all these challenges I just find so really... I think back to my teenage years. And thank God I did not have social media.
Me too!
I mean, I would have probably been in so much more peril than I was already. I already made poor choices. Yeah. I already did stupid stuff. And to have even... I just could have seen myself falling into it or getting bullied to the point where I was super upset or...
Well, that's the thing is... Like, I'm sure I have, like, I have, like, 2 YouTube videos. Like, because that was when I was, like, a senior in high school when YouTube was a thing. And now I'm just like, I'm so glad that wasn't like relevant when I was in middle school or anything like that. Like, social media is really difficult, so I don't know, everything it's forever online, forever.
I know. And it's hard to even fathom that when you're 14. You know? I mean, you're still a child. Yeah. Or, you know, all these 14-year-olds are like, fuck you, I'm not a child. But you are.
You are. No, I look back and I'm like, I had no business living in an apartment by myself at 18. Like, I don't think, like...
I know, you lived in my house, I think, before that.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
But you nailed it.
Well, it was actually my sister who invited me over, like, almost every day for dinner, because I never made anything. I would just snack. I was my skinniest, but,
Oh, Caitlin, I love you so much. All right, continue on.
The next story... Well, okay, of course. Rebecca is okay and, definitely has
Learned a
learned
lesson
about
about
yeah,
banter.
absolutely. So, this one is January of 2020, and we
Okay.
are in Oregon.
Oh, good
Hello, Oregon.
heavens.
Olivia Ross is 17 years old and a junior at Mountainside High School, and she's taking a college readiness class overseen by a substitute teacher this day.
Okay.
And what she does not know is that she's about to be a part of the Skull Breaker Challenge.
Skull Breaker Challenge?
Yeah. Do you know what that?
I can't even fucking fathom it. Like, it doesn't sound good.
Mhm.
Do you have to, like, hit your head against a wall or something?
So, a group of upperclassmen
Oh, God. I don't feel good about this at all.
asked her if she wanted to be in their TikTok.
Hashtag no.
Sorry. Olivia, a user of TikTok as well, she said, yeah, of course, because, they're
Yeah.
upperclassmen and...
I probably would have said yes, too.
Yeah.
Am I kidding? Especially if one of them was good looking.
Jeez.
Thinking of my upperclassmen.
Okay, come back,
All right,
Michelle,
yes.
come back. They told her to stand up and jump as high as she could. She thought they were all going to jump, but when she jumped in midair, they kicked her legs from behind her, causing her to fall backward and landing headfirst on the classroom floor.
Oh, my God. Okay. So we all know I was on a jury recently.
Oh, that's right.
And that is literally what happened to this poor woman.
Oh.
It was two patients. Did I talk about this already?
You did. Well, not on
the podcast. I've talked to you about it. But anyway,
yeah.
they said I could say it on social media.
Oh,
if
wow.
I wanted. Yeah. They're like, you can talk about it as much as you want now that it's over. So anyway, what happened? It was two patients at our state mental hospital. And one was aggravated over some reason, and the other one made sort of a sassy comment at the man who was aggravated, and he went after her, and he tackled her and punched her in the face numerous times. But what really did the damage was the tackle, because she hit the back of her head, and she ended up having all these subdural hematomas, and her brain hemisphere, like, went off kilter. Like, her brain moved over 4 millimeters off center because she had this other bruise that was pushing down on her brain so much and caused all kinds of brain damage that she wasn't even aware of. Like, she got put on the stand and she wasn't even cognizant of any of her terrible injuries. And then they had a doctor on and they're like, she's got this, she's got this, she's got this, she's got this. I mean, even small things like dropping objects all the time is a function of your brain. And anyway, my point is, a hit on the back of the head
is dangerous.
Be very, very dangerous. So I apologize. So I'm
No.
already like upset for her,
right?
In a very real way.
So Olivia had no idea about this challenge and was unaware that her legs were going to be kicked out from her.
God. I'm so upset for, like, I'm having a very emotional reaction to this story.
So apparently the other kids said they staged someone behind her to catch her, but of course that didn't happen, so...
Yeah, so they're liars.
Yeah, pretty much. The students also said that everyone talked about it and Olivia knew what was coming. I mean, I'm sorry, I would not agree. Yeah, please kick my feet.
Yeah, so I can fall on my back and hit my head super hard.
Yeah, who would agree to that? Olivia blacked out when she hit the floor. And she actually has type 1 diabetes, and her blood sugar skyrocketed as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know, right? So when she came to, she had a headache and was dizzy. She went to the school's nurse and called her parents and tell them what happened.
Okay, did anyone assist her at this point? Or are they like, oh, that bitch blacked out, take off, run?
I think this blackout, you know how you pass out? Sometimes you, like, come straight to. Like, you hit the floor, you black out, you come.
That's never happened to me once.
I blacked out once during softball. I had a collision, and I swear I blacked out because I don't remember hitting the ground, but then I woke up. But I guess it was, like, 2 seconds. Yeah, it was 2 seconds. So I was like,
interesting.
All right.
Interesting isn't quite the word we need. Devastating.
Well,
maybe
yeah,
is
that's
better.
true.
Okay.
So her parents pick her up and actually take her to the ER. And that's where she was diagnosed with a concussion. The same doctor tells them that they have seen other kids with the same thing that has happened to them. The Skull Crusher Challenge.
Hard pass.
Right? The situation became worse, though, when she went back to school. Students said she knew what was going to happen and she just wanted to be TikTok famous.
Oh, whatever.
She states, I went from being somebody who loved going to school and somebody to somebody scared to go to school every day.
Ugh.
I was scared that something like this was going to happen to me again.
Poor thing.
I know.
Oh, God.
It's awful. Because bullying is also just very traumatic.
It is traumatic.
She said that she was determined to turn this experience into something positive, though. And in March of 2020, she started an organization called Teaching Kindness Matters.
Oh, I love it already.
I know. So she worked with TikTok to try to take down videos like the Skull Breaker Challenge. She states, "It makes me feel really happy knowing that I'm helping other students not have this happen to them. TikTok is a really powerful tool and can be used for so much positivity. There are so many positive trends that you can participate in. I think the good outweighs the bad, and I just want to keep it that way." So she turned her experience into a positive one because she did something about it, but still, like, how awful.
How awful. How awful indeed.
That's the dumbest challenge I've ever heard.
Well, I don't know. All of these are terrible. It's not as dumb as as the duct tape one, but I would say it's on par with the Benadryl one.
So, you know... Like,
but at least with the Benadryl one, you're doing it to yourself and not someone else is doing it to you.
That's true. That's true.
You know, I sort of feel like her free will got
taken
pulled out
away.
of this,
Oh, absolutely. Well, even like you said in the beginning, the Tide Pod Challenge, only, I think I read about it, and only like 83 people went to the hospital, which is a small amount compared to, you know, how many millions
people trying it.
Yeah. Or how many people actually did it, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. But still made an impact because everyone talks about it, you know? It's so crazy. Yeah. I have one more story for you.
All right.
So this is called...
My favorite part is trying to figure out what the challenge is.
Well, okay. Well, I can't wait for you to figure out this one. So this, his name is Nick Howell, and he's 11 years old.
Oh, this is going to be depressing,
I know. It's October 7th, 2020 in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
So Nick's grandfather passed away. So their family had a gathering at his grandmother's house, and Nick's younger brother and his cousins were outside while their adults were inside. Nick and the other kids were joking about TikToks and talking about the different videos. And there's one clip that they were watching, and it's called the Fire Challenge.
Oh, God damn it. Do they set themselves on fire? Do they set themselves on fire? Just tell me right now. Yes, that is what I'm guessing. No. Or you set someone else on fire.
No.
Or do you just set a fire, see how long it can blaze for before you tamp it out?
Well, the clip is a teen dousing objects with accelerant and lighting them on fire.
Oh my God. Was it gasoline? Were they using gasoline?
I don't know. They just said accelerant, so I'm guessing probably gasoline.
Oh my God.
But Nick spots a lighter and wanted to give it a try.
No, my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, burned his face off with gasoline.
Burned his face off?
Yeah, he was trying to light a barbecue and use gasoline, and it was like partially still warm, so it ended up igniting, going up the stream of gasoline over, and then lit him on fire. And it literally, like, his whole face is burned.
Oh.
Like, he wouldn't come out of his bedroom. Like, of course, he sought no medical help whatsoever.
What?
Yeah.
He didn't see any medical help?
No, but no medical help. He hung out in the bedroom with gauze on his face for like a month.
My gosh.
Yeah, and
he healed, though.
He did heal, so he still has his face, technically, but it is
That's
scarred.
crazy not seeing medical help.
No, he burned his face bad.
Ugh.
And from using gasoline trying to start a barbecue, so don't do it.
Well, he actually poured a little bit of rubbing alcohol.
Oh, that doesn't sound good either.
He poured it on the concrete outside.
Okay, Caitlin. We're taking a drink break. This is upsetting. Oh my God. I can't even with your stories today.
Sorry.
They're the fucking worst.
I'm sorry. That's the dangers of nowadays. Seriously.
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Let's
Thank
fill up
you.
yours a little bit more. Well, all right.
Yeah, let me take a sipper.
I gotta take a sipper to fucking get through this. It's upsetting.
I know.
All right.
So he poured a little bit of the rubbing alcohol on the concrete outside. He lit it and then put it out.
Okay.
But the bottle of rubbing alcohol also caught fire. And it actually exploded.
Yeah, that does not surprise me at all.
Nick was scared from the explosion and looks down and sees he is now on fire.
Oh,
completely engulfed in flames.
Probably the rubbing alcohol, like
Dripped
some of the
or-
still liquid
Yeah.
made it onto him on fire.
Mhm.
And now, oh my God. I imagine it burns off quickly, but
I don't know.
now your clothes
honestly.
are on fire and
Yeah.
your hair is probably on fire and oh my God. Okay.
So he runs to the front of the house, screaming for his parents. His father and 2 uncles pat him down and sprayed him with the garden hose.
Oh, okay. Stop, drop, and roll. That's what they always say.
That's what they do say, yeah. The family actually flags down a police officer that is at a nearby school, and the police officer called an ambulance.
Oh gosh.
Nick was airlifted to HCA Florida Kendall Hospital. Nick burned 35% of his body.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is heartbreaking.
And went in and out of the hospital for the next 6 months. He had a total of 50 surgeries.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so many.
It is. He damaged the nerves in his legs and had to relearn how to walk and stand and get dressed.
He really caught on fire.
He did.
That was not a small...
No.
No, oh my gosh.
His mother states, his accident opened up my eyes in many ways, but especially in my own parenting. You think you're vigilant, but that's clearly not enough. We have to make our children understand that there are really real-life consequences to these challenges. Nick also states, you shouldn't try everything you see on social media. It won't go well. I want to tell people not to be a follower, but to be a leader. He looks, mostly his legs that were
most
damaged.
severely burned.
Yes. But he did learn how to walk and do everything. So he's living his life as a normal kid again, but he just has a lot of scarring and such. So
oh my gosh.
it's so sad. I mean, there's even more dangerous challenges. I was trying to cover one challenge. It's called the Blackout Challenge. Do you know what that is?
I'll give you my guess.
Okay.
I do not know what it is. Do you like try to strangle yourself until you black out?
Yes. And there has been recently a few kids who have died doing this challenge
Oh
because
my God.
I mean, blacking, like they say, like when you start to pass out and you come back to, it's like this giant high, you know?
I don't care.
It's just so sad that children are seeing this on social media and trying.
Just being like, yeah, this sounds like fun. No.
Unfortunately, I found no survivors of this challenge. I don't think anyone comes out to say that they survived it because, but all the ones I found were kids who unfortunately passed away.
Oh, God.
And it was so sad to see that. And then, you know, as parents, I'm sure you could do your best, but with social media, they're going to see it. They're going to hear it from other kids. It's going to get through. So I think just having a conversation about challenges, viral
don't
challenges.
Do them. People die. It happens.
Yeah. I mean, you can only protect them so much, but it's...
I think that tells you the power of wanting to belong.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. And nowadays...
Even more so.
Even more so.
Yeah.
Even more so.
I agree. Oh,
I know. It's
in
so
a very
sad.
real way.
Well, back in my day, I had MySpace, and that was, my parents had my password. I don't know how much they checked up on me, but they
had it all.
They had it all. They said that they were going to monitor me.
Oh, well, and if you're kidding me, if I had found anything on your MySpace page that was like untoward, I would have been all over your ass.
Right. I'm sure you would have too.
Yeah. What the fuck is this, Caitlin? I'm not having any part of it, and you need to stop.
No,
Aww.
but so it's just sad. So I don't think, because I was bullied so much in school, so I can only imagine like being bullied in school and go home to your safe space and being bullied online. Like, I don't think I would be able to take it, honestly.
No, seriously. Like, and with my stalkery type tendencies, which I have, I would have lost my mind. Like, I'm in a relationship with my high school boyfriend, and he's like friends with some other chick. No, I would have lost my shit.
Well, yeah.
And just
him liking other photos of women.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
I would have been obsessed and crazy. And thank God I didn't have that.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
It was bad enough for me as an adult. Yeah. Let alone, you know.
There's a good and bad side to it.
There is a good and a bad side to it.
And I think it can be used, like Rebecca said, as or as Olivia said, as positive trends and stuff to try. But you just have to find it.
Yeah. No, it's tough, man. It's super tough.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So, moral of the story, please don't do challenges.
Yeah.
Unless they're good. So just be careful. And yeah. So, Michelle, now it's your turn. Let's hear your story.
All right. Well, this is no challenge. Well,
okay.
I don't know. Maybe a yoga challenge?
A what?
A yoga
Oh,
challenge.
Okay, that sounds healthy though.
It does sound a little healthier
Yeah.
than maybe these other ones. All right, so this story is about Daniel Miller.
Okay.
And we are in actually, I think it's Sydney, Australia, but it's Charlotte Bay, which I'm not fully sure where it is.
Oh, okay.
I think it's
but Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Australia-esque is where we're at. I think it's like 200 miles or so from Sydney.
Oh, okay.
Because that kind of comes up later.
Okay.
So Daniel met his wife, Saima, quite a few years back. He actually had joined her and a friend of his for drinks on the day that his dog died.
Aww.
So obviously it's probably a pretty depressing day.
Yeah.
For him. But when he walked in, Saima was like, this is the kind of man that I could see myself being with.
Oh, wow.
And I get that. That is actually pretty much the same reaction I had when I met Joel at the bar. I was like, yeah, I could see this going down. I'm enjoying him quite a bit. A few months later, she walked outside of her naturopath practice and saw him waiting outside.
Aww.
And so in that moment, she knew that he would be her partner for life.
That's cute.
It is cute. And so soon they moved in together, and then in 2007, they found this amazing property in Charlotte Bay, which is along the coast. So Daniel was a qualified builder and a landscaper, and they could develop the land into a yoga retreat, which is kind of like her dream of always.
That's cool.
You know? And so one day, and she could also imagine that one day they would have kids running around and all kinds of stuff. So she really was like, yeah, this is the man for me. So she would often joke with him, don't you die before me. Which actually Joel and I have this talk often.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
It used to be Joel always said N+1. So whatever I die, he wants, a year more. Now that has turned into a day more. And then he's like, fuck it, you got to die before me. There's no way I could live through your death. I don't know how I'd live through his death. So there it is in your face. So I guess Saima's mother had passed away when she was 13. And so it was unimaginable for her to be left alone once again.
Right.
So Daniel promised.
Aww.
I'll let, you can die first. I will die after you.
Oh, that's sad but cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, again, Joel and I.
Yeah.
So a few years later, many of their dreams had come true. Now they had kids that were 9 and 4, and they made the property on Charlotte Bay their home. And even though she was commuting for 3 hours each week to see her clients, still at that naturopath clinic that she had.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a commitment. That's good.
I know. Dang. In February, earlier, I think this is actually in 2007. So in February of 2007, the kids were at daycare and at a school swimming carnival. So I'm not fully sure what that means. It sounds like a field day, but with pools.
Oh, okay.
Just a fun time at school
okay.
type situation. So Daniel, who was 45 at the time, he thought he would go finish some landscaping around this dam that was about 150 feet away from their house.
Okay.
So he had been meaning to tidy up this old rock garden that ran along the dam wall for some time. So he took his excavator out, which was a 3-ton excavator, and he started to shift around some of the larger boulders and plants around this dam. So it hadn't rained for a long time, and the water on the other side of the dam was very low. So he's working on the dry side of the dam. Okay. And then the water's just on the other side of the dam. Okay. If that makes sense. Yep. So he steered his excavator to the edge of the dam and lowered the bucket to sort of drag out some mud and kind of clean it up. But just then, the excavator sort of started to slide. Oh. And it slid with its own weight. It was a pretty heavy excavator. But he was used to working with heavy material or heavy machinery.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't really super alarmed. Like, this sort of situation had happened before.
Oh, okay.
And so what he ended up doing is he quickly lowered the bucket to sort of give him, to stabilize the actual excavator from kind of from skipping its tracks and kind of rolling down the hill.
Okay.
So he put the bucket on the ground to act as a counterweight and to stabilize everything. But what happened is he put his bucket down on the wall, and then the wall of the dam, and then the wall gave way. And then at that point, the excavator slid further in towards the water.
Oh my gosh.
So Daniel, in sheer panic, pushed himself out of the machine, out of the excavator, to try to get out of its way of it falling down into this dam, while the wall of the dam is falling and the water is now coming in.
Oh my gosh.
So he's just like, abandoned ship, and he like sort of jumped off the excavator to try to get out of the way.
Makes sense.
But what ended up happening is man and machine both crashed to the ground into the muddy floor of the dam. And so the excavator ended up sort of tipping over onto its side, and the roll bar, the sort of the big bar that goes over the top of tractors. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So in case they roll, they can't, crush the driver.
Right.
This roll bar rolled directly onto Dan. And it rolled onto his lower back, or not his lower back, onto his back, just between his shoulder blades. And so now he's pinned underwater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's like worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Like, this is the bad thing that's happening. This would make it worse. That's what happened.
This thing is supposed to save your life, but now it's pinning you.
Yeah, now you're pinned to the bottom of here's a poor picture of him. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, you see him just barely head above water.
His nose is only above the water.
His nose and eyes are above the water. So he's like, I've got to get out of here. So he's like screaming to himself, and he's trying to pull his body forward with all of his might to get himself out of the water.
Okay.
Because at this point, he's fully submerged in water. So Daniel is trying with all of his might to get his head above water.
Yeah.
Because he's pinned underneath with that roll bar right between his shoulder blades. So he wriggles and squirms until now that roll bar is across his lower back. But he couldn't get his butt out. Like, he couldn't get it past his buttocks. So he jammed his hands into the mud and arches his back as much as he can and pushes as hard as he can so he can try to get his head above water. And so that's where
what he did.
He's kind of there now. And so he was able to get his full head above water.
Oh, wow.
And so he grabbed a breath of glorious air.
Yeah.
And all he kept thinking was, I can't die first.
Aww.
Like, I made that promise to my wife.
Gosh.
I can't let it happen. So Daniel was actually fortunate to have landed facing the dam wall with his chest where the water was only 24 inches deep. So I guess towards the center of the dam, it was actually a little bit deeper. And so if he had been any deeper, he would have not even been able to get his head up.
Wow.
Out of the water. Towards the center of the dam, that was actually where his legs were floating, again, in much deeper water. But he couldn't move, and he knew that 24 inches of water was plenty of water to drown in.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, more than enough.
Yeah.
So his arm was sort of wedged under his chest in a push-up position. So he's sort of sitting like this, if you... Yeah. Sorry.
As a push-up.
Listeners, yeah, like you're about to do a push-up. Similar to an upward dog in yoga.
Okay.
So I guess he's fully up, just trying to keep his head up. He pushed up with all of his strength, and he could just get his chin up and out of the water. So he had to calm himself. He has been a surfer for many years, and he knew the only way to survive in water was to slow down and think rationally.
Okay.
Like, he couldn't just have a panic attack and lose his shit and then probably drown. So he pushed away the panic and began to think. At this point, the excavator is still running, and it's spewing hydraulic fluid and oil and diesel all over into the water.
Oh my gosh.
So he knew that the oil would eventually flood the engine and then the noise would stop. But what he was worried about is that noise is still alerting people that there's somebody there. And if that noise goes away, he'll be, will he be lost? No one will know he's there.
Oh my gosh.
There was no one else on the property.
Ah!
His wife was 185 miles away in Sydney. And Mel, the next door neighbor, who was already 1,600 feet away, would be at that swimming carnival that his kids were at.
Oh my god.
So Daniel was cursing himself because I guess there was a guy that was supposed to come to mow the grass that day, but he canceled him. So there's no one coming.
No.
Oh. So he's like, maybe that guy will come on anyway. Maybe. Or is there Amazon packages coming? It says couriers. I popped in Amazon.
Amazon for sure.
He was just hoping, but most likely that wasn't going to happen. So he figured the people who would kind of miss him first were his son's teachers when he didn't show up to pick him up for school. But he figured they wouldn't call around to try to find out what happened to him. They would just be like, well, they should go to after school care and call it good. And then he figured the alarm wouldn't be raised that he was missing until well after 6. And I think we're still like in the morning. At this point now it's 11:30
Oh my gosh.
So, and he figured his neighbor or the neighbor that is closest isn't going to be home until after 3.
Right.
Could he possibly hold on until then?
Oh my gosh.
So the weight of the roll bar was not evenly distributed along his back. So he didn't really feel like he was carrying the full weight of the excavator on his lower back. What he figured is he might be able to dig himself out.
Oh.
Like just a small part is maybe perched on him. Right. And maybe he could somehow get his way out.
Okay.
So he propped up his body with one hand to keep his head above water. And then used his other hand to start digging himself out.
Okay.
And he was digging underneath his pelvis and his legs and pushing the mud on the bottom of the, on the ground or on the bottom of this dam off to the side. When this ended up being a near fatal mistake. So the machine ended up sinking further and pinning Daniel even further underwater.
Oh my gosh.
So now at this point, he can't get his chin above water. He can only get his nose and his eyes above water. So, and pretty much it was all he could do, and he used all of his strength to try to get just even his mouth out of the water, and just could hardly do it. And what he realized is that it just wasn't sustainable for more than just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
He had to conserve his energy because he knew he was probably going to be there for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
So his options were simple. He could either fight or he could die. If he died, he knew that, his daughters would be coming home from daycare to find out their father had died. And, he had promised his wife. They were imagining him, like, they would see the excavator overturned and maybe his boots would be floating in the water or something awful and terrible. So he was like, I can't let this happen. So even though it was excruciating, he kept pushing himself high enough to breathe. And he realized there was really nothing else he could do.
Yeah.
And so what he had done, he was actually not really new to endurance. He had done a lot of open ocean paddleboarding.
Oh.
Which I guess takes quite a bit of endurance.
I'm sure.
And so what he decided to do was to break down the time into manageable blocks. Okay. So it'd be super painful for 60 seconds. And then he would allow himself to rest. So what he would do is he would push himself up, get into that super high position that was excruciating for him, get his mouth and nose above water, and then he would count to 60. And then at the 5-second mark, he would sort of let his other arm sort of move around and switch arms because he knew he only had 5 seconds left.
Okay.
And so he ended up doing this sort of counted to 60, let one arm sort of do its own thing while the other arm was holding him up for numerous times. Like he would give himself a break every 60 seconds. Yeah. And so he ended up he just kept on doing this, just break up his time into 60 seconds. He would put his mouth up, try to count to 60 and give himself a little break, switch arms, put his head up, count to 60, So eventually the engine did get overtaken by the oil or whatever, and it ended up sputtering and cutting out. And then it became very peaceful in the dam, he said, because he didn't have the noise of this excavator going.
Right.
And so with his ears submerged, all he could hear was the rapid ticking of the machine, that tick, 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 after an engine turns off.
Yeah.
So the sun was shining on his head. His lips were at the water line. He could see the oil and the fluids floating on the surface. And when debris came too close, he would just sort of blow it away as best he could to try to get it away from him. So for him, the counting worked. For more than an hour, he ended up watching a grasshopper walk up a blade of grass. I mean, he's just trying anything he can to keep himself sane and calm.
Yeah.
So he sort of let his thoughts wander, and he was playing out different scenarios of how he would be rescued and that type of thing. And he thought about, there was a sump pump that he brought to pump out the dam should he need it. That was just like 300 feet away. It was just like just over there, and if only he could drain the swamp or drain the dam, he would have been saved. And he was like trying to will thoughts into other people's minds and trying to
check on me.
Yeah. He was trying to work with telepathy to see if someone would pop in and check on him. Of course, none of this happened.
Yeah.
So his main thought above all is like, I cannot let my wife find me dead.
Absolutely.
I know, after all this. So his wife had often nagged him about taking up yoga. And he was like, whatever, I'm bored. 10 minutes in, forget it, I'm done. So now he's there with his arched back, and what is it, like the cobra stance when you're on your back? Cobra. And you're like, so he had been doing the cobra stance forever at this point, and his arms, his back was screaming, his arms were throbbing. He's like, has anyone stayed in this position this long before? But he figured it was best not to think about the pain.
Right.
So time dragged on. The excavator slowly was sinking, and as he's seeing it sink, he's getting more and more panicked.
Right.
And then he remembered that it was supposed to rain that day.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And I mean, just a little bit of rain would probably be enough to kill him.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he could barely get his head, his nose, and eyes above water. So he figured he could fight for hours, but there were some things he had no control over. But there was no use dwelling on them, he told himself. He had to stay calm and make good decisions if he was going to have any reasonable chance of staying alive.
It's so hard to stay calm in those circumstances.
Are you kidding me? And be like, like crying all the time. Like, I drown in my own tears. That's what would end up happening. So around 2:30 p.m., so many hours later, he's still alive, and staying alive has become robotic. Breathe, count, stay calm. Breathe, count, stay calm.
So smart.
I know, smarter than me. His ears were filling with water and oil. He could only hear the engine ticking because it was like underwater with him. And he had no idea where the neighbors were, but he did know he was getting tired. And so he figured he was probably going to have to start calling for help or something soon. But he figured he'd give it a few more 60-second blocks, and then he would try to give it a go. After however many blocks he started screaming. And he was just like yelling at the top of his lungs, help, help, help. But he realized that was completely exhausting. And so it took all of his energy. He was full of adrenaline and bursting with anger, and he struggled to free his pelvis still, but no one could hear him. And he could not free himself. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he caught movement.
Oh.
So he turned his head, and sure enough, it was his neighbor Mel's blue sedan coming along the driveway. He imagined her parking her car, getting out, looking around, and so he pushed himself up and started yelling again.
Yeah.
And there she was, running around the corner with her phone in her hand.
Oh, yay!
Oh, I know. And that's when he knew, I'm going to live. Like, oh thank God, I'm going to live. And so Mel rushed to the edge of the dam, and she's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
How do I help you? And he's like, ring Reg, which I'm assuming is another neighbor.
Yeah.
And get all the neighbors and get help.
Yeah.
And so they called emergency services, but they were 30 minutes away.
Oh my gosh.
So it's going to be a while. But they were able to get a hold of another neighbor that was close by. And within minutes, that other neighbor, Reg, jumped into the dam or into the water with Daniel to sort of help keep his head above water.
Oh my gosh.
But, and then Mel ran to go get a snorkel. And thought that might help him.
Oh, yeah.
But apparently it was impossible for him to breathe through the snorkel. I'm not clear why. But then Mel used her phone, which I feel like this is exactly what I would do, to Google what to do when someone is trapped in a dam.
That's fair. That's fair.
And at the top of the list is no one else should enter the dam with you. Because I guess it can cause it to collapse even further. So Reg got out.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not helping him. I'm probably making the situation worse.
Okay.
So he got out. On a nearby property, there was Charles. Oh, I apologize. Digotari's. His pager went off. Okay. So it turns out he was the captain of the local rural fire service. Oh. And so he rang up the station, and then someone said there was someone trapped under an excavator and he needed to get to the scene right away. So he was just like, it's just up the road, but most likely who I'm going to see is probably dead. Like, this is a terrible situation. So there was no time to get a fire truck, so he phoned his senior deputy and drove around the corner to the Miller property where poor Daniel is. He was the first emergency services officer to arrive, and he could not believe the scene that greeted him. A bunch of people were gathered around the dam, all staring at Daniel's nose and eyes sticking out of the water. Yeah. Which I think is now where we've taken the picture.
That picture, okay.
So the fire truck arrived 7 minutes later, and it was absolutely priority to get the water out of the dam. Yeah. So what they ended up doing is grabbing that pump that was just 300 feet away and getting it down into the dam, and they started pumping that water out of there.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so fortunately, once that pump kicked into action, they were able to get a larger pump hooked up to it. So it's like small pump, big pump, and now we're pumping major water out of there.
Good.
So within just a few minutes, the water level dropped below his nose and his ears, and then he could start hearing what was being said around him.
Aww.
As it turns out, everyone was super worried about that excavator falling even further into the dam and crushing him even more. So I guess it had fallen onto a boulder and was just like within an inch of falling off the boulder.
That's so lucky.
Oh,
so lucky.
It is so lucky. He probably would have been killed.
Oh, absolutely.
Like drowned immediately. There was this huge 3-ton excavator that was about to slip off this large rock right onto Daniel. So police and ambulance began to arrive, followed by fire and rescue, and everyone was there. Daniel watched them as they all approached the dam one by one with a total look of disbelief that he was still alive. And then as the water dropped, it became clear how incredibly lucky he was. Yeah. He had the boulder not been there, he would have been crushed immediately. And as it was, he was already pinned down to soft mud, but the full weight of the machine was not on him. So the rescue operation ended up taking more than an hour and a half. So emergency services fixed a cable to the boom, and they were able to get the excavator out first.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And then they were able to get down and sort of clear out the mud underneath him and then get him up and out of there. So
I'm sure just the excavator
just
away.
Getting off of him. Yeah. They pretty much just hauled him out by his shoulders.
Oh.
So he was hypothermic, completely caked in mud, and his lungs and ears were full of oil and diesel.
Oh.
But he was euphoric.
I'm sure.
Alive. Oh, I'm alive. So his wife was seeing clients, and she noticed that she had missed a call from a neighbor, and she was like, I'll call him back. It's fine. And then she missed a call from another neighbor, and it's just like, that's weird. So she ended up calling someone, and they're like, something's happened to Daniel. And she could tell by the voice that it was
not good.
Serious. Yeah. So she had learned what happened. She was able to remain calm because she knew Daniel had promised not to die first. So she was banking on that promise. She knew everything would be okay. So she called her mother-in-law, and then she spoke to the neighbors. And it was like the whole community was all working together as one to try to save Daniel. Kids were picked up and taken to Mel's next door neighbor, and his wife jumped in the car and rushed off to meet Daniel at John Hunter Hospital in Newcastle. So Daniel ended up spending 3 days in the trauma ward. He had swelling on his back and an infection from the fluids he had inhaled.
Oh, sure.
But otherwise, he was unharmed. His back pain lasted several weeks, and his wife got her wish that he started yoga shortly after that to help release the pain of the knots and everything. And before long, he was back to working and surfing. And so they actually looked back at this as a positive experience. Mm-hmm. They were overwhelmed by the dedication of their local community and the emergency services, and they felt like there was so much negativity in the world at that moment that this was a story of believing in life and wanting to live. It's all about helping people, helping each other.
Absolutely.
It's about mateship. That's what I like. Mate. Friendship,
faith in humanity restored.
I know. Again. So Daniel feels like the luckiest man to be alive. He survived the dam, which was a massive feat of endurance, and he was victorious. He beat all the odds, all because he promised his wife that he would not die first.
That's so sweet.
Here he is again.
I know. That's insane.
Can you fucking imagine?
No, absolutely not. Oh my gosh. That's like coming up to that is a terrifying sight.
Oh, can you even imagine? Like, no. I would just assume he's dead.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
Dead. Sorry about it. That's terrible, but
that's a really good story. That's really unique, Michelle.
I do what I can.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's crazy though. I think that's the important thing about just trying to stay calm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of negative things can happen if you panic and such, but it's hard not to.
It is hard. Like, I'm just in small little situations and I just want to freak out and panic.
Absolutely.
But I will say, like, in some of my more dire situations, I would say, like, when I poured sugar all over my arm, I stayed super calm. And
same
like,
thing with the bees.
Yeah, and I did stay super calm with the bees, even though I'm getting stung over and over and over and have 30 plus stings on me.
You were just walked away calmly.
And because I knew if I freaked out, I would probably have 3 times the amount of stings. So. Oh my
gosh. I think our bodies and minds are pretty good under stress.
Yes, I agree.
But still,
I know you don't know till you're
in that situation. Absolutely. Like I said, you can plan as much as you can, but until you're in that situation, you don't know how you're gonna react. Actually,
I like to think, like, if something happened to you and me, and I was able to get a hold of a baseball bat, I would lose my effing mind on whoever was hurting you. I feel like
thank you.
I think that's what would happen.
I think you would take care of them and actually just keep going, and you'd be like, ow, Michelle, ow, it's me now.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
You're dead. You won't hurt my Kaylin. Oh, no. I'm sorry I beat you up so much, Kaylin.
But I saved your life.
I was trying to protect you. That's what I think you would do. Are you kidding me? You'd bash anybody's face in.
I would.
I don't ever want to test this theory.
Let's not.
But
I think I could.
Oh,
if it's life or death, I feel like
in 1 second
I think everyone could do that though.
Yeah, probably. But I think you in particular.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Could absolutely do it. You're like, I think I could kill someone as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
We're bad people.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Well, those are really awesome stories. And,
stay away from fucking challenges.
Challenges, excavators, dams,
all of it.
Just stay inside. Maybe that's the thing.
I know. I took a walk, hurt my hip. I can't walk again.
Well, no, because my story the last episode, she was in her house, so, I mean.
That's right. Thanks. Now I'm just scared of everything. I hope you're happy.
Right, I'm so sorry. But people survived. That's the thing. They survived.
The fact that you couldn't find that many survivors for the poor TikTok things,
the blackout challenge,
very upsetting.
I think people who survived it probably didn't tell anyone. Honestly, like they did it. They're like, "Wow, that was something," and they're like, "I'm never gonna do that again." Yeah. Or
I almost died.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God.
So, but okay, stay safe out there, everyone, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. And please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And
I forget we're on YouTube now.
Right? And then we'll see you next time.
Woo woo!
Right, thank you. Bye.
Bye. God.